Welcome to Focus on Liberia. You are watching another edition of Roundtable Africa. I'm your host, Sekou Kele, all the way from Canada. Joining me today is my co-host, Edward Amara, joining me from Sierra Leone. Our topic today is police in democratic governance. And Amara, what do you think about today's topic?
Thank you very much. I feel elated joining this program once more. This is a very bright Wednesday afternoon in Sierra Leone, and I want to welcome our listeners at the globe. We are very happy to discuss this type of topic, especially the police in African democracy or in democracy per se. We know that the police are absolutely important to anything I'm doing. So we welcome everybody. It's a fantastic show. Everybody's going to enjoy the program.
Thank you very much, Amara there from Sierra Leone. We all heard about police. Everybody knows about police and policing. But why are we even discussing this topic today? Amara, can you please tell our viewers why this topic is important and why, as African youth, we need to discuss the issue of police?
I think discussing the issue of police is absolutely necessary because both the governments and those who are governing us, the police are charged with the responsibility to protect their own lives and to protect the property of the state. And the police have to checkmate between the governments and those who are governing us, the governing body and the governed. So if you cannot discuss the role of the police and knowing the limit and the unlimitation of the police and what should the police do, what the police shouldn't do, and what we as citizens and those who are also in governance, what they should do to protect the police, we cannot understand them. We're going to watch at it, but each time something wrongs into Africa, we try to blame the police. When something goes on, in fact, the police cannot escape blame. Irrespective of what happens. When corruption happens, we say that the police are not making effective arrests. If somebody is stealing and nobody is laying hand on those things, we say the police are not making effective arrests. If a driver is riding carelessly and he or she commit accident, we say the police are not doing anything. So irrespective of what happened, the police are just part and parcel of it. So the police are just a kind of amalgamated set of people who are involved into everything that we do within our society setting. So I think it is absolutely important we discuss. We know the roles of the police, their do and their don't, and what is our own responsibility to the police, and how can we even help them to do their work, and what are some of the things that we need to pick up with the police, because we shouldn't view them as our enemies.
Thank you very much, Edward Amara. There, some police are there for law and order, are there for peace and security of the society. But is that true? We will look at it. So without wasting much of our time, I would like us to go into the topic, and we'll then look at the first question. Who are the police? Who are the police? Amara, this question is very interesting because, when you say police, some people begin to imagine those that take bribe on the road. Some people begin to imagine that guy that wears that uniform with a pistol that has little education, ready to shoot anybody. When you hear police, what comes to mind is that guy who is protecting the elite, who is there to brutalize the people and make them not to speak out. When you hear the word police, some people have that negative imagination, police brutality. In America, when you hear the word police, all you think about is racial profiling. So who are the police?
Thank you very much. I think when you were trying to define the police, it just looks like a testy fly who is seated on the scrotum sacks of a man. You may not know whether you have to hit it or let it go, because irrespective of what happens to you, it pinches you. So coming towards, we want to talk about the police. Who are the police? The police are a trained and qualified set of people who are empowered by our constitution to protect law and order, to safeguard life and property, to ensure that our society is crime-free, to ensure that those who are even, because when laws are made, we have the concept that people must perpetrate crimes, to ensure that those perpetrators will never go with impunity. So in short, these are just a set of trained and qualified people with credible reputation who are empowered by the state to protect law and order and to safeguard life and property. We should not be viewed as our enemies, and we should also work in collaboration with them. So the police are just like angels guiding us. Without them, the society will go the wrong way.
Thank you very much. Amara, I love your definition of police, law enforcement agent who are there to protect lives and property. But there is this history about police. Like for Africa, for example, when we look at our history, how we inherited the institution called police, we inherited it through the colonial masters. Now, when you look at the colonial masters themselves, where did the concept of police come from? We understand in history that police started on the slave farm, the slave plantation. The police were first created in the 19th century to prevent slaves from running away from the farm. So they were there to protect the life and property, but life and property of who? Of the master. Life and property of the elite. So that's where the police force came from. So the slaves were prevented from running away from the farm, and that's why police, the workforce there came in. They were there to brutalize the people and make them that they obey the master's law. So the colonial, come to the colonial era, the colonial masters introduced police to protect the interest of the colonial masters and their property. It wasn't for the people. It wasn't for the colonized. The colonized, the police were just there to keep them in checks so that they don't revolt, so that they do not speak out, so that they don't challenge the authority. So now we move to our post-colonial era. Our African states picked up that mentality of using police to protect the interests of our presidents, our senators, our governors. So the police are not there to protect ordinary Africans. They are there to protect those big guys with big cars. So the ordinary people are just there to be brutalized, to be arrested, to be criminalized. So this is another concept of police. So when we say, who are the police? Would you like to speak a little bit about that as well?
Thank you very much. Normally, I tell people that bad behaviors, characteristics, or attitudes are not inherited. They are definitely learned. I believe that before colonial masters came into Africa, Africa have a kind of organized system of governance. It would be unfair to say we never had people in the form of police. They were there, but their names were not police. They were like guards to our kings and queens. They protect the land, and they ensure that they even protect the property of that particular kingdom. They protect the people, and they protect them from foreign aggression. And when these colonial masters came, they created the police aspect for them to achieve their goals. But does it mean that if my father were a cannibal, then definitely I'm going to become a cannibal? I can't become a cannibal just because my father is one or was one, except if I land doing it. I think the colonial masters taught our African leaders bad concept of government, and they agreed to learn to these things here. So when you watch at it, prior to this time, we expected the guys to the king or queen, because even before this time, when you watch at our traditional movies, at our traditional setting, if somebody breaks the law of the land, it is the responsibility of the king or queen to send law enforcement agency against that person. For that is individual to report, or they should force him to report. But we are not meant to abuse the law that we are going to protect. When the colonial masters came from the raw colonization, you are trying to impose your rule on another person. So as long as they came with the concept of imposing their rule on us, you don't expect them to use the police positively. The police are going to be used negatively because they have come to impose them. That is why they come with imperialism, always follow colonialism. And when colonialism come in, they place their control, both financial and political power over you. So they tend to exploit your life. But before this time, our African leaders had their own bodyguards in the form of police, army, and so that is why they used to fight wars. If somebody fight wars, it's more expected that they must have military people. And the police are also part of some set of those things. So when they came in, they have their own concept of governance. So when you define the police at it, we expect the police to be a law protecting agency, a law enforcing agency. You expect the police not to be a perpetrator. But you watch at the concept today, the manner in which the colonial masters presented it. Take a common example like in Sierra Leone. If you are doing our national history, you watch what they call the frontier police. The frontier police came in with the concept of the colonial masters. These are the police that are going at the front. And we are so crafted enough, they created trade war into Sierra Leone. They locally call it tribal war, but the wars they are not actually for tribal. We are not fought on tribe basis. because we had the Limbas, the Soso, the Timini, the Yalonkas, the Krankos, the Kisi, all of these tribes, they were living together in peace and harmony. But when they exposed themselves to mineral resources, the colonial masters wanted to lay hand on those mineral resources. What they did, they created trade war within the interior of Sierra Leone and exposed the people to a mentality that they are fighting tribal war instead of trade war. So they send those frontier police. The frontier police were only sent at the front line to abuse the right of the kings and queens, dethrone them, marry their wives, enslave them, and exploit everything. So when you watch at policing, from the concept of colonial master away, it means those who abuse the right and their right and responsibility, and even abuse the right and responsibilities of those who they have gone to govern. And that is the exact concept that is now in. When you watch, that is why we no longer view our political masters like king or queens. We watch them as elected people because we feel that they are betrayers. They said politicians are like that pass; they can change anytime. And normally they can only when you want to know a best flyer, sometimes they tell you that befriend a politician. They lie a lot because of that concept. But prior to the emergency of the colonial masters into pre-colonial Africa, we have people who are protecting law and order, and we are viewed as law enforcement agencies, highly respected. Nobody went against them.
Thank you. So thank you very much, my co-host there, Edward Amara. So Edward, before we move to the next question, very quickly, like in 1 minute, can you, because what you explained right now, I agree with you that we did have law enforcement agents in Africa before colonialism. But when we look at the colonial concept of policing that we inherited, that is to protect the elite, the 1%, and oppress the weak and be brutal and be very angry, that angry looking man in a uniform that is willing to crush and slap and kind of humiliate an ordinary man on the street. Do you think Africans borrowed the colonial concept, they did not redefine policing, or you think what we inherited from the colonial master was the right way of policing the society?
It was actually the wrong way. When you are taught by a wrong teacher, you will develop the wrong concept and end up destroying the society. I think our own Africans have different ideology of that. Is why democracy was never part of Africa. We have what we call one-party system. But when they came, they taught us democracy and they introduced instrument or terror to the state known as the police. And this police, we are carefully trained to abuse the power of the government and to ensure that they fight for the interests of the governing body. I think we need to do a careful explication or research into what African policing system used to be. We change our headlines and have a better narrative, or else what we have inherited for them, we cannot continue implementing it, and we expect unionism into Africa. It is going to cause division because police are seen as terror of the state instead of people who protect law and order.
Thank you very much. That leads up to our second question. What's the concept of democratic policing? What's the concept of democratic policing? Now we know what democracy is, and what democracy is a system of governance that deals with transparency, rule of law, and order. Now, when you contrast that with policing that uses force, that uses all kinds of violations of human rights, we have all these records on police. So when we talk about the concept of democratic policing, how do we merge these two together?
Thank you very much. I think you carefully define democracy. We know it's the rule of the majority where law and order are maintained. And we have legitimate way to transfer power from one other person. But democracy should not be misconstrued with good governance. And policing come in to ensure that there is good governance, because somebody can be elected the right way and end of the day they abuse their powers. So what we expect, the concept of democratic policing is for the police to ensure that the notes that on which we are elected for should be protected. You are not elected into office to abuse the right of your subjects. You are not elected into office to lord it over those who elected you into office. You are not elected to lord it over their heads. Rather, you are elected to lead them and to ensure that you do not involve into any corrupt practices. So democratic policing involves a kind of, that is why police should not be a political set of people, a neutral body that watch, that check, that cross-check the powers of those that are governing, and even those of us who are law-abiding citizens, or those also who are subject to the state. The police are there to ensure that law and order is being maintained, and at the same time, in a democratic state, Nobody, that is why they say the concept of democratic policing. Nobody has the right to be above the law. That is why they said in democracy state, the law is supreme, because that is where we maintain the rule of law. A man is always presumed innocent whenever he's been charged of having committed a crime till he's been proven guilty before the court of law. And nobody has the right to abuse a citizen right just because you are in power. And similarly, that citizen also does not have the right to abuse any authority. You must understand that you elected your authority to govern you. And if that authority is carefully dispensing its duty over you, it is your responsibility as a citizen to listen, obey, and take order. And the concept of democratic policing also involves that trying to protect the society against any harm and danger. To ensure that whosoever that is a violator should be brought to book. And to ensure that they checkmate every issue that is going on in the country. That is why a politician cannot leave his or her home without having bodyguards in the form of police. Yeah. And civilians also cannot be gathered anywhere without having police around. So you must understand that the police are the angels of democracy. If you can get into any public gathering, irrespective of the area, the first people that they call to order is the police.
Yes.
That is why it's almost always acceptable that the police should be there with the instrument that can leverage control over these people. So the concept of democratic policing is to have a neutral set of body of people who are responsible to enforce law and order, compel people to obey where it is necessary, and to ensure that nothing harm happens either to the governed or to those who are governed. So it's a simple concept. They are not trying to violate the democracy that we are hired to protect.
Yes. Thank you very much, Amara. What I gathered from your explanation, and I couldn't agree with you more. So in democratic policing here, we are talking about respect for human rights, the rule of law, and transparency. Now, some people will say there's a dichotomy, there's a contradiction here, because in democracy, yeah, we want to hold our leaders accountable, but this police, there's a word force in their definition. We have the word police force. So when you look at most of the demonstrations we have in our country, Sierra Leone, Liberia, or in Nigeria recently, we've seen that police has been used as an instrument to brutalize the people. They have been armed, and we are in a democratic era. And these police, they have been armed. In fact, the word police is almost synonymous to a criminal in uniform. That their job is there to just beat the people, to criminalize them, to brutalize them. So is it lack of training? Our police officers are not trained, or it is our elite who are deliberately using this force to kind of brutalize the people? Because we are what you define here, some will say, is a very beautiful definition on paper, but we don't see it in practical, we don't in reality. Because the kind of police system we have in Liberia, give you for example, they had to protect government officials. You watch, for example, you have a misunderstanding with someone who works in government. He can just pick his phone and say, I will call the police DPO right now, and they come and get you. And when a government official call police, when they come, they don't even ask you questions. They don't want to know who you are. They just arrest you, they drag you on the floor. There is no respect for citizens. So our people are beginning to wonder, is the police created to protect the elite, or is the police created to protect all lives and property? Is it lack of training that's making them to behave in this way? Is it lack of education, or it is the governance system itself that is at fault?
Thank you very much. I think if we have a kind of collective issues that are responsible to the current misbehavior of certain police, that are even responsible, they are the perpetrators today instead of those who are trying to protect people from falling victims to criminals. In the first place, you cannot, when police are to be hired, they should be hired from credible background. Well, what are the police that we are hiring today? Before this time, I learned that whenever the government is about to recruit police, they come down to the traditional rulers of a particular place, the chiefs, the councillors, whosoever. They will try to select credible citizens who are of higher integrity for that particular region to submit them based on credibility, not because of your education and background. But come to think of it now, people are hiring thugs to police the state. That is an absolute nonsense. The calculated stupidity that Africans need to live to emerge themselves from and to follow the right concepts. You have seen on numerous occasions that whenever it is time for the campaign into Africa, we have a lot of rewrites, hooligans, people who are willing, vampires for that matter, who can destroy life and property at any time. They will be the campaign commanders of these politicians. And they are half educated, if not even not educated. Just after they have won their election, the best way that they can reward these people, they employ them. And what do? They either send them to the military force or they become police. And these people are already criminal before they come into policing. And immediately they become police, now they become absolutely sound criminals. So that is why when you watch at it, it is not that they are not receiving training, they are receiving training. But violence is something like it's habitual to them. Because before this time, they have actually been used to the act of violence. And now you are empowering a criminal to come and police you. And instead of being policing you, they will turn it into a police state. And if they turn it into a police state, it means they have given brutality, they have empowered or legalized brutality. That is why, being that they knew that they came into the police force, not because of their qualification, it is because somebody else recommended them, just because he or she might have served that person during the time of campaign. So you expect that individual to serve his appointee or somebody his appointer, somebody who appointed him. Because that appointee will definitely serve his boss. He or she was definitely not qualified. So most of the time, all of these politicians, they are recruiting people into the police force because of the political support this hooligan gave them. And they will promise them reward. And one of the rewards is to legalize their hooliganism by giving them state instruments to govern the governed. And that is the wrong concept about everything. I think it is high time we revisit the police recruiting policy and the background, if not the qualification on which somebody should become a police. And it should not only be based on education and background, but rather the credibility of that person, the moral standard of that person. You cannot expect a riffraff to police a state. They will turn it into a form of they will turn it into a police state. Even when you watch it, if you throw back into history, you watch at it, most of those who are serving as frontier police in Sierra Leone here, just after they colonized the interior of Sierra Leone, they were like criminals who were actually captured by these kings and queens in prison because they violated the laws of the state. That is why I told you that before this time we have police. They violated the laws of the state. They could either be criminals, rapists, or people who are just social rebels. They do not confront to any social rules. And these kings and queens arrested them and carefully imprisoned them to ensure that they are being disciplined. But when the colonial masters came, they freed those people and they armed them. And when they freed those people, they armed them. They were responsible now to violate the state. So I'm not watching at the training. I'm watching at the manner in which those people came into power. Irrespective of how, well, you cannot teach an old chick new tricks. It is very impossible. They were well criminals, place, and this politician came them into power. I think it is high time we told this politician the hard fact that they should not include anybody in the name of recruiting just to come and police the state. Rather, we want people of moral standard.
Thank you very much. I agree with you there that the recruitment process is very faulty. Criminals have been recycled into the police force. There is no background checks on all of these guys that have been recruited into the force. It's about who you know, who I know. It's kind of, the system is corrupt. So when it is corrupt from the foundation, then you don't expect positive result. If those who are recruited, first of all, are not properly trained, they do not have the skill, and they have been wrongly recruited, there is no background check about their criminal record and history, then that means we are having trouble. We are having bad guys being used to come and be good guys, which is not possible. It's not possible at all. So that takes us to our next question. What are the roles and responsibility of police? What are the roles and responsibility of the police in a democratic society? So, Amara, in a democratic society, we know when we look at some other nations around the world that are doing well, we'll take few like example. We'll take Canada, we'll take us UK, we'll not take America as a bad example. We'll take other countries, Scandinavia. So police in most of these countries, they work with social workers. They work with psychologists. They work with community organizers. because it's not just enough to be police, to be going around looking for criminals, arresting criminals, beating them down, putting chains on them. Police is to also prevent crime from happening. They foresee crime before it even happens. That means they gather intelligence. That means they work with community organizers to even see, to prevent things that even leads to crime. What make young people to commit crime? Is it because they don't have access to good, free education? Is it because they are unemployed? So police work with different organizations and community leaders, and they don't just police the community without working with that very community. Because people they refuse to understand that police is not supposed to just be about criminalizing people. Okay, it's about preventing crime and creating that harmony, creating that peace, harmony among people. So police was supposed to be a civil authority to work with people. It's not supposed to be that force that people are scared of to approach. They are being militarized in many African countries to a point where when someone even sees police, psychologically they begin to see they are seeing danger, where it was not supposed to be so. They were supposed to be seeing a healer. They were supposed to be seeing a psychologist in uniform. They were supposed to be seeing a social worker in uniform that is bringing that balance and harmony among communities. So I am confused where the democratic state that we are building in Africa, that there is no improvement. The role of the police is continually being misunderstood. We don't have a proper understanding of what the police should be really doing. Is it just to be standing on the road preventing riots from happening? Or this person insulted this government official, then police go at midnight, go and arrest that person. When it comes to that, we see our police, they are very efficient. When it comes to, on behalf of government and government officials, they are very efficient in doing their job. But when it comes to working with communities, preventing crimes, working with young people, gathering intelligence, and even creating community policing, vigilantes, and what have you, working with all these different groups to create that harmonious society, we don't really find it. So I will let you to make your own input there. What is the role of the police in a democratic society that we claim to have? So Edward Amara there, I think he will be back having issues with connection. Please bear with us. He's joining us all the way from Sierra Leone. So folks, as we were discussing the role and responsibility of police. You see, police is to protect life and property. We all know that. But usually they think the lives and property they are to protect are the 1% on top. It's not supposed to be so. It is to protect the life and property of everybody, irrespective of our position in society. And they are supposed to be social workers, psychologists. They are supposed to be trained in this various field. So they even look at a person, sometimes you go and arrest somebody and the person is misbehaving. You don't know their mental history. You don't know whether they are having psychological issues. They are having mental health issues. So for you, it's all about force, taking out the gun and taking out the taser and then dealing with the person. You don't even know the history, the health history of this person, whether they have a mental health issue. That's why social workers, psychologists working with police has been very important, because the role of the police, if it is not really defined, then police will be militarized, they will be terrorizing society, and there will be no solution at all. So welcome back again, Edward Amara. What's the role of the police in the so-called democratic society that we have today? The role and responsibilities.
You just carefully submitted certain important things that we should know about the police. In the first place, we are watching at a force that should be credible, neutral, responsible, proactive, and reactive, and a political force. That is what we are expecting from the police. When you watch at the responsibility, the first thing you must understand that when you have been recruited into the police, they hire you as a law enforcement agency, or they hire you as a law enforcement agent, and they are working for the agency. You are not a lawyer. You should not put yourself into a position as a judge, and you should be incorruptible. You must first seek for your respect, because respect is given to those who deserve it. And if that is the case, we expect the police to be a neutral body into any democratic state. We should expect the police to be trained and qualified people with high caliber, how to detect criminals, and how to even prevent crimes occurring. That is why we expect police to be a proactive force. We do not expect our police to always be reactive. If you have a state with a lot of reactive police, at the end of the day, commotion, volatile political situation, chaos will be at the end of the day. That is why police should be highly intelligent. Police should not only feel that they are intelligent, but because they say intelligence is when you do not only feel happy about what you know, but when you start to question the little things that you think you know about. We're expecting the police to be strictly apolitical, that is one. They should not be perpetrators of the law they claim to be protecting. They should not be criminals. They should not be part of any criminal gang. The police should be highly responsible to detect crimes when they did not even occur. Or when they are yet to happen, the police should be highly responsible to detect those crimes. The police should be people who work with the locals, the communities. The police should be civilian friendly. They should tell the people their roles and responsibility. The police should work with irrespective of your political background. It is the responsibility of the police to interact with all political parties, irrespective of the ideology of that political party, because if you cannot censor the activities of a particular political party, you will not even know that whether that political party is a state instrument or is an anti-state instrument. It is the responsibility of the police to provide adequate protection to each and every citizen within the state. It is the responsibility of the police to protect our constitution. It is the responsibility of the police to charge citizens fairly. It is the responsibility of the police to see that justice is not only be done, but it must be seen to be done. It is the responsibility of the police to ensure that no corrupt politician goes unpunished. No corrupt politician should go with an impunity. That is the responsibility of the police that the state charge them with. It is the responsibility of the police to give credible information whenever they are being asked to give. It is unfortunate and quite amazing that we are seeing our African democracy dilapidating on a daily basis because we have police force who are only serving their appointees, those who appointed them instead of the state. Police should not be responsible to serve for politicians. They should serve the state because they are state instruments. It is their responsibility to protect the state to the letter. They are not there to protect any civilian or any politician in power. But when it comes to think of it, what is happening today into Africa, the police are abusing all of those aforementioned things. They are definitely serving those who came with them into their offices. Police should ensure that they only serve the law. They are not serving an individual. If a city minister does wrong, it is the responsibility of the police to even charge a city minister. It is the responsibility of the police to even arrest the president whenever he or she violates the constitution. We have seen that on numerous occasions. Police have gone when there is riot, meaning people have already taken the law into their hand. That will be the only time they will come in. Look at what happened in the case of IBK, Ibrahim Abubakar Keita, in Mali. The police and the soldiers ensured that IBK left power. But it only came having knowing that the people are frustrated with the system. But the police should be in position to make some corrective measures. They should work in collaboration. You only need the army in time of war. The army are not needed to protect the country. They only protect the country from external aggression. But we need the police to ensure that law and order is being maintained. So these are the most important things that we need the police force. And above all, they should never collaborate with any citizen to violate the rights of to violate our constitution or to even violate the laws of any state.
Thank you very much, Amara. There's very important points you made there. Police are supposed to be neutral. They're supposed to be proactive and not just be reactionary, and they're supposed to be apolitical. That's very important because most of the time we find out that police are being politicized. They are being used as partisan. In my country, Liberia, we call them partisan police. That is, whichever party is in power, the police thinks that it is their job to protect that party, to protect that party officials, and be against all other voices and all other people in the country. So people are very skeptical. There is this trust issue with police. People do not trust the police. And you know, there's a general sentiment across Africa that police are not to be trusted, that police are criminal in uniform, that police are government thugs, that they are just official because they are wearing uniform, but they are actually government thugs because they are used as instrument by the government to oppress opponents, to oppress opposition, to oppress other people around the state. They don't allow freedom of assembly once the president says so. So the issue here I'm having is, how do we get to a point where police are protected by law by themselves so that they can have that integrity to say no when the wrong instruction is given? When the boss says, go and shoot on the crowd, for that police to cite a constitutional provision and say, no, it's illegal for me to do that, and that police will not be fired tomorrow morning. They will still keep their job because they did the right thing. Because we have to look at it as well in another angle. Is the state protecting the police to do the right thing? Or the state systematically kind of turn them into zombies that cannot speak for themselves? They are just given instruction and they carried it out. Whether the instruction is illegal, whether the instruction is undemocratic, they are struggling with that role because they can be obeying the law today, then tomorrow morning a new guy takes over and tell them, go and shoot that entire community. And they carry out the instruction without looking at the consequences. So how do we protect the police themselves so that they know their role and they can be able to say no when an illegal instruction is given?
Thank you very much. I think even in our normal offices, if you employ somebody, he's doing hard work for you, and that person is underpaid, you expect that person to be easily tempted to corruption or involved into corruption. But in the first place, how can we protect these police that they are saying? First, people should not come into police force because they are serving politicians. They should come into police force because they merit the positions. And people should not be promoted based on their political affiliation. Rather, they should be promoted based on their contribution towards the state. And I think an independent body, with the exception of politicians, should be responsible to recruit the police. And that independent body should be a political body that is not involved into any political activities. If things like that are being done, and the police also should be paid handsomely. You just narrated the incident or the issues about Liberia. You are crystal clear on it, and I can't agree with you more on that. But how much are they paying the Liberian police? What is their services? What is it? What is the package? What is the package of their services? How attractive is their package? And how protected are they from the state instrument or from those within the powers or from those wavering the powers of Liberia, like the president, the ministers? They can easily be called and sacked anytime or even demoted because these politicians are directly hiring them. So I think if we can have an independent, neutral body that is responsible to recruit and promote the police, they can also do their job, because then we know that you can go and serve the politician, but you are not serving the body that recruits you. So if that body knows that you have violated the law, you can easily be arrested, placed on a criminal investigation, and charged the court and be prosecuted on a timely basis. But politicians are coming with police. That is why it is just unfortunate.
Okay, we have technical issues
that
there.
each time you see a new government take over a particular, the change means the first one that was there, he was on a political appointment, and the president coming in also needs another person who will serve his interest. They change him because they have been included by the same politician. So why not have a separate independent body that is responsible, that is charged with the responsibility of hiring our police, promoting them, and even determining their salary, and to ensure that they protect themselves. If those things can be there, the politicians can come and serve, the police will discharge their responsibility, and nobody will be into the position of corruption. But as long as the politicians have the absolute responsibility to go about recruiting their police, trust me, he who play the papa tell you how to dance.
Thank you very much.
Music, tell you how to dance it.
Thank you very much, Amara. I agree with you most of the point. We will take a short break, and we'll be back. So please stay with us. We have more discussion to come. We have more questions and to discuss here today. Please stay tuned, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Welcome, folks. You are watching Focus on Liberia. We are having another interesting edition of Roundtable Africa. I am Sekou Kela, your host. And with me here today is Edward Amara, as always, my co-host from Sierra Leone. And our topic today has been police in democratic governance. What do you think? We will read a few comments here, and then we will proceed from there. The comments will come up shortly. We're going to read comments from our viewers. We want to see your participation.
We have a comment here, and from Abraham Political Mondrek Setu. Let's see.
Abraham Political Modric said, I'm watching the entire team live from the office of the Veterans Bureau, to be precise, Liberia. Thank you, Abraham. Dominic Brima said, well done, guys. It's getting interesting. Thank you for your comment. Dominic Brima said, the network disruption. Yes, we're having some network issue always with this. Technology is always like that. You have to have some hitches here and there.
That's it for comment for now.
Okay, that's it for comment for now. Thank you very much. You are watching Focus on Liberia. And this is another edition of Roundtable Africa. Our topic today is very interesting: police in democratic governance. And Amara, my co-host here, Amara, that will take us to our next question. What are the advantages of having police in our lives? Amara, everybody knows that law and order is a necessity. When you build a society, you don't want anarchy. You don't want people to do what they like, when they want, and then how they like it, because there will be conflict of interest. There will be people who want to take advantage of other people. So law and order is necessary for civilization. And if you want to build a peaceful community, you need that law and order. So police, we all know that the police is necessary. We need police to have that social cohesion, to have that harmony among people. But are there disadvantages and advantages of police? But before we go to the disadvantage, let's look at the advantages. We know the law and order aspect. We know theoretically police are there to protect people, their lives and their property. Are there some other thing you want to elaborate on why people should look at police in a positive light?
Thank you very much. I think we should look at the police in a very positive side, because we already have then our politicians still have the absolute right to abuse us. But without the police, I think even some of the limits of the politicians wouldn't have been exposed. Apart from serving the politicians, we still have some good police force today. They're helping to protect life and property. Most of the criminals that we're having today in central prisons, either in Liberia or in Sierra Leone or any country, it is the responsibility of the police, or the police actually have been responsible in bringing these criminals to book. We have seen on numerous occasions where corrupt politicians have been arrested, they were prosecuted in court, and today they are serving their persecution in prison. It is the responsibility of the police. And we have seen on numerous occasions where the police have saved a lot of lives and property into Africa. Nobody cannot say you have never been protected by the police. We all have been in one or two way or the others. So the police, having them, we have numerous advantages. Without the police, we have people who are trained and qualified criminals, ready to hijack anything in your hand, even when it is in broad daylight. But because we have the police, they are serving as well. They serve as our physical body fear, the body language speech. Whenever the police are around, people take time how they will discharge their duties. We all know how Sierra Leone and Liberia have become so volatile in terms of criminal attitudes. Exactly the word that we tasted into this country. Though most of those rebels, they are also part and parcel of the police force today, but I think they are a little bit changed. So they have been trained, and we understand that they are qualified to discharge their responsibility to the state without involving into any criminal attitude. Although we cannot rule out the fact that there are still others within the police force that are bad apples, corrupting the names of those who are doing better. The police are also there to protect the constitution. Without the police, even the democratic mentality that we are preaching today cannot be enforced. Even during the election day, we have seen some candidates winning fairly. It is out of the responsibility of the police. Some candidates have won unfairly. It is also because of the corrupt nature of the police. So for all the good things that we have merited into our society, let us give that accolade to the police. And for all the bad, let us also equally blame them. So the police are either for good or bad. It depends on the concept or the background that they met you on. But I think it is actually necessary. If democracy is to exist, they will have a lot of advantages. Even you in Canada over there, your life cannot be adequately protected if you do not have a police force protecting you. Or else anybody can just enter your home and burglarize you, take everything that he or she wants to take. So all of these things are there. I think it is high time we also give them credit, though on numerous occasions they have violated everything that we thought they would have maintained.
Thank you very much, Amara. I agree with you on most of the points. You know, folks, let's look at it this way. Police, we have issue of domestic violence. Husband taking advantage over the wife, wife taking advantage over the husband, parents taking advantage over their kids. We have violence in the place of work. You can be walking on the street, somebody wants to take away your wallet. They want to take your money. You live in a society where there is disputes. And some people want to use their force, physical force, to be able to overwhelm other people. So police is necessary to keep that law and order. So I agree with you, Amara, and we need the police, but we only need them to improve the way they render services. We want improvement in the institution so that they are not militarized to terrorize people. They should be the safety for people. People should feel safe when they see police, not feel afraid or scared when they see police. Then something fundamental is wrong when the opposite happens. So that takes us to our last question here, Amara. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the challenges faced by the police force in Africa? You know, before I let you in, you see, I did a little bit of security training as well when I came here. I want not to become a police, but to become just a private security. So the first thing you are taught is that security is about protecting life and property. But also there are sometimes that you must use some force as necessary to be able to arrest somebody or what have you. So, but there are limits to everything. There's check and balance with everything. But when you find out that in the field of security, there are so many challenges. You need information, you need technology sometimes to even be able to detect certain information. So when we look at the police in Africa, the lack of technology to be able, because in modern era, so many things are going on. Policing is not just physical now. We have cyber security. We have people committing crime on the internet. So the lack of technology or our police, are they well equipped to be able to face modern crime that are being committed daily? Two, looking at our rural areas in Africa. Most villages, like where I come from, my town in Lofa, I come from northwestern Liberia, and I come from Lofa County. My village is Kundadu, a village of less than 300 people. And in this village, we are the border between Liberia and Guinea. I've never seen a police officer in that area. When I go to my country, I visit I've not seen a single police officer in that community. Our people have been there for centuries, no police. In fact, Liberian flag, sometimes a lot of things go on in that area. People depend on the elders and what have you. Police do not, they are just in the city protecting the elite. They are just in the city, but they are not in these villages around. Are they having issues with logistics? Are they having challenges with money? What is going on with the African police that they are not protecting the people in the rural area and they are just focused in the city? The second thing as well is the police salary. Most of the time, police are regarded as a corrupt force. They are very corrupt. Everybody knows that. They are the one forming all the roadblocks in Africa, all the borders. Police will give you the help. They will make you hate your own country. Okay? I have a lot of experience that I must have experienced personally. I've been harassed by police at the border of my own country. So that's a long story. But are the police being underfunded? Are they being underpaid? Is that the reason this is happening? Please come in and tell us what you think are some of the challenges of the African police and what can we do to improve that?
Thank you very much. I'm already out of time, but let me just come in. You see, you cannot, when you watch acts, the current millennium, our police are not actually living up to that expectation, because we have people who involved in cybercrime. How many police are even au fait with internet? Only a few. Those who are opportune. Police are there today, they don't even know how to operate a computer. Police are there today who are halfly educated, and they say they have education is always dangerous. Above all, the police are not even living into ideal environment. They lack the equipment. They lack the protection from politicians, because the politicians should protect them in one or two ways. Let the police be protected. Protection in essence, yeah, everything that is due a police force should be adequately supplied to them. But police, in fact, there is kind of ethnicity in policing today in Africa. That is why promotion is only based on tribal mentality. Most of the police force today who have high promotion into the police force, they definitely belong to the president's tribe, irrespective of the country that you watch at it. And that shouldn't be it. The police, their recruitment policy is very poor. They are not policing into an ideal environment. Their salary is not enough to ensure that they stay corrupt free. The salary that they are having to, they always beckon them into corruption, because like in Sierra Leone, I think the police force are being paid on less than $100 per month. If they are being paid less than $100 per month, what do you expect them to do at the end of the day? They can easily be tempted to involve into any corrupt attitude or into any crime attitude, because the man has a family and he has other responsibility. If you are paying somebody with $100 and that person meets a crime scene where he or she can be given $10,000, $5,000, even $2,000 or $1,000, he or she knows that that particular money given to him will even serve as a 3 or 4 month salary, or even not a year salary. They will definitely go by it. So I think our police force need to be protected. All of those things need to be awarded to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amara. Our time is not on our side, and we have a lot to discuss. This was a very, very important discussion. I will take your parting comment very quickly to summarize generally what we discussed today, just in 1 minute. Yes.
Thank you. I think the police force should be viewed as people who are independent. They should be friendly. They should not base their policing on political backing. They should be instruments for the state to protect the law and property and life. And also, they should never be involved into any corrupt practice. So we must understand that we see the police as our brothers, not as enemies of the state. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. That is Brother Edward Amara, my co-host from Sierra Leone, is always on the issue. Thank you very much, Amara. We're always happy to have you here, and your contribution is very, very, very meaningful. Thank you very much. Thanks to our viewers. And this is, you are watching Roundtable, another edition of Roundtable Africa. And our topic, as we watch, as you can see on the screen, is police in governance. We will leave you here today, and next week we're going to join you with another interesting topic. I am all your host, Sekou Kele from Canada, and I wish you goodbye. Thank you.
We are Labira. Labira is our home. Labira people. Labira.